After a great year in film, we decided to keep the tradition alive. So once again, I recruited 10 Grinners to help compare this year's Best Picture nominees to the world of professional wrestling.
What happens when the fight never really ends? One battle after another follows Bob Ferguson being pulled back into conflict again and again, carrying the weight of his past into each new fight. There's this sense that every new battle is shaped by the last one, that there's no clean reset, no real chance to start over. It's not just about surviving one fight, it's about what it costs when the next one starts before you've even recovered from the last. That made me think of Orange Cassidy's international title run. What made that run so great was that it was never just about Orange defending his belt that week. It was about what every title defense took out of him. Week after week he kept surviving, but he looked more exhausted. He was more worn down and by the end more held together by tape and momentum than anything else. The title run became less about dominance and more about endurance. Every match added to the damage, and by the end the story was not that Orange was unbeatable, it was that he was somehow still standing. Both One Battle and OC's international title run are stories about attrition. They are about carrying damage forward, about how every new fight is shaped by the scars of the last one, and in both cases, what makes it compelling is not just the battle itself, but the toll it takes on the person still trying to make it through.
Brother, Sensei, please!
Courage, Bob. Courage.
That's it?
Courage.
Yeah. Thank you. Hey, thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei, thank you! God damn it! Viva la revolution!
Train Dreams is a quiet and meditative film.
Beautiful, ain't it? One is.
That tenderly explores themes of loss, grief, solitude, and resilience, set against the immense backdrop of nature and time. The film is anchored with a grounded performance from Joel Edgerton. He brings a quiet authenticity to the role of a railroad worker, capturing both the physical toll of the job, along with the emotional weight and loneliness carried throughout the years. In his 2006 WWE Hall of Fame speech, Bret the Hitman Hart concluded with a similar theme when he said, "The best chance you have if you want to rise to the top is to give yourself up to the loneliness."
Best chance you have if you want to rise to the top is to give yourself up to loneliness.
Fear nothing and work hard.
Fear nothing and work hard.
Over his long career, the Hitman was no stranger to tragedy and the grief that follows. The tragic loss of his brother Owen was quickly followed by the unexpected loss of his own career due to injury. In time, Bret would find himself the sole member of the once great Hart Foundation. In his Hall of Fame speech, he mentions, "I think back to those days of the Hart Foundation, with Pillman, Neidhart, Bulldog, Owen. Those were the happiest days of my life." Time moves on, old wounds heal, and the Hitman eventually found his way back into the squared circle, this time with the next generation of Harts by his side. Like Bret Hart's career, Train Dreams shows us that time doesn't pass us by, it passes through us. And only once we've had enough time and distance can we truly understand what it all meant.
Beautiful, ain't it? One is. All of it. Every bit of it.
Adapting Frankenstein is not a new thing by any means, and in 2025, Guillermo del Toro became the latest to take a swing at the historic novel with a film led by Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, and Mia Goth. Many versions of this story on the big screen tend to take the monster part of Frankenstein's monster very literally, but del Toro makes his most notable change by way of sympathizing with this monster, or as he chooses to call him, the creature. His narrative is redemptive instead of vindictive. It ends with the creature choosing to forgive his creator's evil and look forward in life with more hopefulness than anything. And it's in this the creature comes to be the babyface of this story, which is where my mind naturally ties in the biggest babyface story of 2025, Hangman Adam Page's rise back to the world title. Hangman himself is a character built by circumstance, from his heel run of 2024 to his fan momentum in 2025. He has become a blank canvas time and time again for fans to paint their perfect promotion-saving image on, 2025 being no different, which is very similar to what Elizabeth, Victor Frankenstein's sister-in-law, does to the creature. She sees him as the ideal man, devoid of any flaws commonly found with the men of the time because he has no priors, a man she can't help but fixate on due to his innate endearing nature. She gets so angry with Victor Frankenstein when he just can't see him the way she does, kind of like how Hangman fans felt Tony Khan was seeing the Cowboy. When the Death Riders, especially Jon Moxley, were running things in AEW, to many's dismay, fans looked for a savior and wouldn't quit until it was the Cowboy. Elizabeth, at a point, had lost hope in humanity and wouldn't ever give up on the creature, who eventually proved her right by forgiving Victor, his creator, for what he had done. And while I'm sure people still look back on the run as a whole and grimace, getting Wrestler of the Year talk is proof Jon Moxley has been forgiven. AEW fans looked into the sunlight like the creature following that title win in Texas to hope for better. That's the wrestling game for you.
Marty Mauser bursts onto the scene full of energy and pride. His abundance of confidence is immediately apparent, pairing his obvious skill with dazzling showmanship. Every serve, smash, and trick shot sports ego and unapologetic arrogance. Love him or hate him, you can't look away. And he knows it. Much like all of you, I was left with no choice but to draw parallels with our great friend Maxwell Jacob Friedman, current reigning and defending AEW World Heavyweight Champion. When MJF walks into an arena, people react. Good or bad, they care. After all, he's better than them. And they know it. Armed with that same magnetic confidence that Marty carries in the film, Max holds the AEW World title like no other, entering every Dynamite as though he owns the place. In Marty Supreme and MJF's world title reign, you see athletes who are not just playing their game of choice, but actively redefining it. Especially in the latter's case, as he has appeared on the channel before, though Chalamet is always a StreamYard link away from earning the same credit. Anyway, these are stories about generational talents that refuse to settle for anything less than greatness. Performers who will do anything to achieve the acclaim befitting their skill. For different reasons, their methods may be, well, questionable, but the goal is the same. To prove once and for all, they are better than us, and they know it.
This is my part!
F1 is a film built around speed, pressure, and the obsession it takes to compete at the highest level. But even more than that, it's a story about proving you still belong. In a sport where the margin for error is razor thin, even the most talented people can find themselves becoming forgotten. That made me think of Drew McIntyre. Drew came into WWE as the chosen one, anointed as the future of the business, only for that first run to fall apart completely. Despite his obvious talent, as he called it, his youthful ignorance got in the way. He was fired and became one more guy people thought never lived up to the hype. But instead of letting that be the end of the story, he rebuilt himself on the independent circuit. He was bigger and more intense when he returned, impossible to ignore. Both Sonny Hayes and Drew McIntyre are stories about expectation, failure, and fighting your way back after people have already decided your moment has passed. They are about proving that being written off isn't the same thing as being finished.
The only place you could say, if you win, you are the absolute best in the world.
Good morning, Corey. Good morning, Begonia follows two conspiracy-obsessed men who kidnap a powerful CEO because they believe that she is an alien trying to destroy Earth. It is absurd, uncomfortable, and at times darkly funny. But underneath all of that is a story about distrust. Distrust in institutions, distrust in power, and the feeling that the people running everything might be lying to you in ways you can't even fully comprehend. The clear parallel here is CM Punk during the pipe bomb era. At the time, Punk felt like the only guy willing to step out of line and say all the things that no one else would dare say. The people in charge saw that he had a burning passion to call out their wrongdoings, and they in turn did everything they could to smother him. But that's exactly why it worked. The more he talked, the more it felt like he was pulling back the curtain more and more. Both Begonia and Pipe Bomb era Punk are stories about someone seeing a broken down system and refusing to accept what they are being sold. One is objectively way more insane than the other, but they both live in that same space where paranoia, truth, and rebellion start to blur together. And sometimes the scariest part is realizing that the guy everyone dismissed as crazy might have actually been right.
The Secret Agent is a political thriller set in 1977 under the brutal Brazilian military dictatorship, where fear and control shape everyday life. It is about living in a system where the people in power decide your worth, where speaking out can come with consequences, and where survival often means learning how to exist under rules designed to keep you small. That obviously made me think of Zack Ryder in the WWE. And yes, I understand that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out.
What's the deal, man? I'm your host, Long Island IZ, Zack Ryder, and welcome to the debut edition of Z, True Long Island Story.
Ryder got himself over in a way WWE did not ask for, did not expect, and in a lot of ways, didn't even seem to want. He built a fan base on his own, got people behind him organically, and for a moment it felt like he had forced the company to pay attention. But instead of embracing it, the machine pushed back. His momentum was constantly undercut. His rise was treated like an inconvenience, and every time it looked like he might actually break through, management found a new way to remind him exactly where they thought he belonged. Both The Secret Agent and Zack Ryder's WWE run are about what it feels like to live under a system that only supports you when you stay in line. One is obviously about the crushing reality of authoritarian rule, and the other is about Woo Woo Man in 2011. So the stakes are slightly different. But in both cases, the story is about suppression, control, and the frustration of knowing exactly what you're capable of, while the people in charge do everything they can to keep you down.
Eu matava ele com martelo. Tu anda armado? Não, mas eu sei usar martelo.
Hamnet is a story about grief, but more than that, it is about what grief does to the people left behind. It is not just about the loss itself. It is about how that loss settles into a family and changes everything around them. The way it reshapes a home, a relationship, even the way people move through the world. It is quiet, intimate, and devastating in that way where the absence of one person somehow becomes the loudest thing in the room. That made me think of Bo Dallas and the Wyatt Six. Underneath all of the fog and fireflies, the Wyatt Six has been grounded in grief. It is impossible to separate Uncle Howdy's crew from the loss of Bray Wyatt, and because of that, everything Bo does with the Wyatt Six carries that weight with it. It is not someone simply reviving an old idea. It is family, processing indescribable loss through performance, turning grief into something haunting, personal, and impossible to ignore. Both Hamnet and the Wyatt Six are stories about absence becoming presence. They're about how losing someone does not just leave a void, it changes the shape of everything around you. In both cases, what makes it powerful is it is not just the sadness of what is gone, but the way that the people left behind are forced to carry it with them. Through life-altering loss, the ones who are left behind both create. What they create touches the lives of those who understand the incredible loss that they've experienced. Their experience through storytelling reaches beyond to anyone who experiences it.
Why?
Bye.
Why?
Bye.
Why?
Sinners is among the decade's most powerful, a film packed with as much pain and anguish as it is with prosperity and unity, a film whose nucleus is charged by music, the sounds of soft voices, impassioned cries, the blues, jazz. Its themes of sin, compassion, oppression, and community are brought to life through the echoes and screams of unforgettable tunes, with songs like I Lied to You serving as our characters' way of bearing their pain and standing face to face with the world bringing about it. Its uniqueness as a film, however, isn't the use of music, but rather how infused outside mediums are into the fabric of the story. The music match between Kana and Meiko Satomura exists in a very similar vein, a match that is unlike anything you've ever seen in wrestling, a match bathed in the chords of a shamisen and immediately immersing you in a world of tradition, culture, and competition. A match built on the trail of agony and suffering these two women had put each other through over the years. With this being the final singles match between the two, the music aids in telling the story of finality. Each note played to the tune of a stiff kick or a grueling submission or the struggle to outlast and withstand. Whether it's Kana trying to find ways to counter the savvy veteran or Meiko shouldering immense strain to prove she can still stand and hang. Akin to Sinners, this match doesn't work without the music, the symbolism behind it, and the nuance of each piece, charging emotion and physicality through powerful sounds.
Yo, it's my only thing. I think I shot myself.
Sentimental Value is a film about family, memory, and all of the emotional weight that gets handed down from one generation to the next. It's about how the people closest to us, the people who know us best, can sometimes end up feeling the furthest away. They leave expectations, wounds, love, regret, and all these little pieces of themselves that keep shaping who we are, even long after they're gone. This immediately made me think of the Rhodes family. Dusty Rhodes is one of the most beloved figures wrestling has ever had, but his story did not end with him. His legacy carried over into the careers of both Dustin Rhodes and Cody Rhodes, two sons who each had to figure out what it meant to carry the Rhodes name while still trying to carve out their own identities. Dustin carried that weight in one way, building a career that often felt caught somewhere between who he was and the shadow of who his father had been. Cody carried it in another, turning that legacy into a mission, trying not just to honor Dusty, but to finish the story his father never got to. Sentimental Value is not really just about remembering the past. It's about what it means to live with it. The way family history sticks to every decision you make, every relationship you have, every attempt to move forward. And few families, in wrestling or anywhere else, embody that better than the Rhodes.
Ni två är ju det bästa som har hänt mig.
Bäst som har skett dig? Ska vi varta lite mer då?
Thanks for watching, folks. Please like the video and subscribe for more grins. To join us live almost daily, head to Late Night Grin, hitting the join button for exclusive watch-alongs, wrestling history lessons, and live Q&As. Keep grinning, folks. All how.